Hi everyone, welcome back to Sherlock Holmes vs Jack the Ripper. Here we are in the Wasp's Nest, the seediest pub in Whitechapel it would seem. We've got this guy who we think is Dr. Tumblety to have a chat with. We've also got the artist, which was in the brothel over there, so we can let him know that Bella has a surprise for him. There's Tenement Lager, 2 little doggos on there. What's that? The Honest Lawyer, no such thing. Oh, he's got his head cut off. Nice. Viewcastle Breweries on Tyne. I can't see what that one is. Another beer, obviously. Then the King's Head. Cursed Mermaid Pub. Beer good. Beer good. Food good. Food good. Oh, it's good food. Good. It's just badly printed. Tenement Beer once again. The Jekyll and Hyde. And the Cursed Mermaid Sailors Pub. Ooh. Right. What we got on the back here? Let's have a good look around the pub. I'm sure the landlord won't appreciate us having a look around, but white breads, the world's best stout. Not a big fan of stout myself. Got a door back there we can go through, and we got a bowl of disused glasses.
This is the sink where the barmaid puts the glasses to soak. Look, red ink. What's that doing here? The bottle is closed. There must still be some ink inside, and it looks like a glass. The barmaid must have put ink into the sink by mistake.
Right. Do I get in your way? Me?
Sorry.
If you'll excuse me, sir.
Ooh, okay.
Hey, you can't go in there. It's private. Got it?
Sorry. I am Dr. Watson, sir. Let's have a word with the barman. I think we've already upset him.
Greetings, my good man. Could I have a pint?
He looks a little bit... Really?
Here, Gov.
Do you know about Tumblety?
I've been told that Dr. Tumblety might be found around here. Is that so?
I don't do a roll call of all the drunkards here. I've got my hands full just making sure I get their money.
Fair enough. Do they pay in advance?
Don't people pay when they order?
Nah, look at that little scribbler there. Completely dead drunk. Tonight's tally is about as long as his arm. If he skips out, I'll be in for a guinea almost.
Tell me about the closed door I tried to break through.
What's behind that locked door over there? Can I go in?
Not likely. And let me be unless you're wanting a drink. Got it?
Thank you, barman.
Goodbye, my friend.
Oi, that's it.
What? What? I don't want to take my beer now. Hello, love.
Good evening. Would you happen to have seen a Dr. Tumblety? A man of a certain age dressed in a flamboyant manner.
If you're looking for some company, Gov, you've come to the wrong place. Me, I'm just here to pour. I don't care who you is, I knows nothing, and I don't care neither.
Brilliant. Lovely, friendly hospitality here. Hello there, artist dude.
Good evening, sir.
Well, I know you. Why, we met at Miss Poolman's the other day. So you've come to slum it in Whitechapel, eh?
Yes, Tumblety.
Do you know Dr. Tumblety? A Canadian or American chap. Quite an extravagant dresser. Frequents this pub now and then.
Are you intimate?
No. What do you mean by that?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. I just wanted to prove my discretion concerning this man. In so much and so far as I know him. You wouldn't like it if one day the tables were turned and everyone was talking about why you were in the borough. Isn't that so?
Yes, indeed. Probably, you're right. By the way...
As it happens, I saw Miss Poolman recently. She told me that she couldn't wait to see you again. She said something about a surprise that is waiting for you at her establishment.
Why, that is some of the best news I've heard, my friend. As thanks, I would like to let you in on a secret. The man that you were talking about, and whom I happen to know by sight, passed by and went through that little door that you see over there.
Ah.
Another man let him in. They weren't together for more than a few minutes, to be sure, eh?
That's I feel sorry that we're going to
well, I
screw him
will
over
continue
now,
my
but never mind.
search.
Ah, love.
So this isn't Dr.
But what
Tumblety
is
over
this
here.
person trying to imply? This matter is beyond me.
Oh, he's writing red ink, look.
Good evening, sir.
It'll be the coup of my career, Governor said. Ha! You'll make loads of doss of the paper, he said.
Oh, he's a journalist.
You're a journalist?
That's so. Tom Bulling at your service. The Whitechapel ferret, the wizard with the scoop.
You don't appear to be in a state to write anything, my friend.
You're mistaken. Whiskey passes through the blood and turns into ink. Simple. You see, mugs and inkwells are all the same.
Don't you think you should settle your tab and go home?
My red ink? Where's my red ink? I won't even pay half a halfpenny if they don't return my red ink. It's my blood you hear.
Ah, so what
Very well, I'll be on my way.
The little information I do know that there were numerous letters sent to the police and the newspapers claiming to be from Jack the Ripper. Some of them had details which only the killer could know, but some of them were fabricated. And I'm guessing they were all I'm not guessing, they were written in red ink, and I'm guessing he is one of those journalists who's making some of these letters up. So let's give him the red ink.
You're the best. The boss told me. My red ink. Well, where's she be?
Here's the red ink.
I found your red ink, my friend. You should settle up and head home.
Thank you, my friend, thank you. The spring-heeled phantom will be revived.
Yes. Okay. Oh, they're both gone. Can I look at that letter? No. Now can I have a word with the barman again?
Gov?
You've paid up.
Here you go.
Oh,
It's on the
okay.
journalist, my friend.
I owe you one. The next one is on me. What'll it be?
Nothing, thanks.
Go through that door.
But I may need your help.
Access to the locked door.
Listen, my friend, I would like you to let me in the door over there.
You're a bobby. A peeler?
Absolutely not, my friend. I am a doctor.
Fine. I owe you this at least. There's a bloke behind that door there. No pity Bluto. Let's just say he wants to lay low for a moment.
Yes.
So I don't think he'll be opening the door just now. Unless... Tell him you have word from Squibby. They'll open the door. But who can say what'll happen when the door closes?
Right, thank you, barman.
Goodbye, my friend.
Oi! That's it!
Why do you get so aggressive? Okay. Hello, Bluto.
Let me in. I have news from Squibby. But stay calm.
Oh my goodness, yeah, he's a bit of a
And who are
brute.
you? Where's Squibby? He's out.
To be honest, I don't actually know this Squibby chap. I was actually wondering if you knew Dr. Tumblety, a Canadian or American fellow. He came in...
Sure we know him.
Excellent. Can you...
You know about gas?
I'm afraid not. I am a doctor.
Then I ain't interested. You can be leaving now. But if I find out who snitched to the peelers, I'll find you. Got it?
But I can pay you for...
Keep your coins for the paupers, or one of the gas boys who ain't afraid of nothing and knows how to hold his tongue. You bring him to me. I'll meet with you.
What? What,
Well,
a gas boy?
It would seem that I have all the information I need for my investigation. Anyway, this fellow Bluto at the Wasp's Nest is rather shady and doesn't look like he'll want to cooperate. I'd be better off returning to Baker Street. Holmes will certainly know what to do. And besides, I am worn out.
Good night, my friend. Oi! Get it out! Or whatever he'll shout at us. Right, let's head back to 221B Baker Street then. Yes, what a charming evening in the Wasp's Nest that was. Right, to Baker Street.
Let's go back to Baker Street. Home, sweet home. There we are, Holmes. I've told you in great detail everything that happened last night.
Excellent work, Watson. We shall now be prepared to answer a few questions about the horrible murder in Hanbury Street.
Do you think we are now in a position to find out the identity of the murderer of these two women?
No, I don't think so. It's outside of our scope and not our responsibility. As much as you've done for Leather Apron and the affair with the pills, our mission is to help the police by ensuring that they don't get caught up following false leads and to point them in the right direction. Let us start from what we know with some certitude. As you have just said, it is almost certain that the same person killed the Bucks Row and Hanbury Street victims. The reason to assume as much are numerous, and I shan't elaborate here.
No.
What do these two victims have in common?
They were both born on the 2nd of March. They didn't have anything going. They knew people in common. They had a similar profession.
It's true these two women were in the same profession, but...
Indeed, Watson. These two women were both prostitutes. That is of vital importance, Watson.
My memory from your examination of the scene is rather hazy. Didn't you say something about the killer's frame of mind?
I was talking about the victim's possessions that were placed on the ground and the rings missing from Annie Chapman's fingers. This killer is a cunning predator, comes from a rather humble background and shows steely self-control in carrying out the murders.
Something is puzzling me, Holmes. Richardson's testimony contradicts the time of death given by Dr. Phillips, which also matches my own, 4:30 a.m.
And yes, we shall confirm that, Watson, and attempt to determine the precise time of death. In order to do that, we will need to place everyone involved on a timeline. Only after that will we be able to place the knife symbolizing our killer.
Right, okay.
Let's look at our timeline, Watson.
I'm in control of Sherlock Holmes, right. Have a look at the timeline. Where's the timeline? Is this the timeline? Yes.
There is nothing more to do here.
Oh, that's not the timeline. Sorry. Is this the timeline? Here we go. Determining the exact time of Annie Chapman's murder in Hanbury Street. So we got 4:30. Estimated time of death according to Dr. Watson's and Phillips. Okay. Let's go back. Didn't mean to click on that. So we'll
Let's
put that
the time of death
at
as
4:30.
assessed by Dr.
Right, 4:29. There we go. Perfect. Sherlock and Watson arrive at the crime scene. That was 6:20,
He
wasn't it?
left the station at 6 o'clock and it took us 20 minutes to arrive at Hanbury Street.
Oh, it's there. These are
Our
5 minute
arrival at the
intervals.
scene occurred at around 6:20. Given the distance separating the two locations, we can deduce that the corpse wasn't discovered after 6 o'clock, and therefore that the murder must have been committed before.
Yeah. So hang on, let's move that to 4:30.
The assessment of the time of the murder given by Dr. Phillips and yourself, Watson, 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, obviously out by a minute when I put that down. So what do we got here? Oh, these are the Whitechapel murders. This is John Watson. Okay, I don't. Okay, so these are specific things. So this is a scrap of envelope found at 29 Hanbury Street. No idea. What's that one? That's a scrap of evidence. That is a conversation. That is the Star. That's Polly Nichols's murder. Use this document as proof. How? Right, no, I think what we need to do is find the testimonies, don't we? Notes. Murder of Annie Chapman. Documents. We want that testimony. Use that as evidence. And we want... Where's the other testimony? Elong, that one. We want to use that as evidence. Here we go. So, Miss Long sees a woman speaking to a man at 29 Hanbury Street. And she said that was what? What did she say that was? Let's actually read that. Approximately 5 a.m. She was passing down Hanbury Street at 5:30. Okay. So she is there
Now,
at
for the most
5:30.
important part, the testimony of Miss Long. She claims to have seen a woman speaking to a man near 29 Hanbury Street sometime around... What time, Watson?
5:30.
Let us assume, therefore, that Miss Long's testimony is, as is most certainly the case, true. She places her meeting with the victim at around 5:30, claiming to have heard a clock chime on the half hour at the moment when she enters the street.
Yeah, so we got 2 more bits of evidence. So what's the other bits of evidence we're going to have? The old police reports? No, we got those. Scrap of evidence. No. Daily News on the 11th. What other evidence do we have? Maybe we don't have them yet. I don't know. So Mr. Kandosh is in the garden for... I thought his name was Mr. Richardson. For a few minutes and goes to the back. He hears voices. Right, let's get his times. So, the witness got up at 5:15, went to the yard, to the latrine. It was then 5:20, and going back into the house, he witnessed the bump behind there, and he heard a noise. Something fell against the fence. He departed for work. Then he passed by the front at 5:32. Right. So that's 5. Oh, hang on. Do I have to grab the man?
Our next witness is Albert Kadosh.
So that's 5:32.
Kadosh leaves the garden, enters his house, then leaves for work, seeing the clock on the Spitalfields church showing 5:32.
Right. What was the other times? 5:15 and 5:20. So that's 5:15.
Let's place this symbol that represents Kadosh on the timeline.
Oh, okay. So he went out at 5:20, going blah blah blah. He heard the word no, blah blah blah. 4 minutes later, so 5:24. Oh no, so that was 5:20.
Albert Kadosh goes down into his garden at approximately 5:20, and on re-entering his home, hears voices in number 29's garden.
So this
Let's
is
place this symbol that represents Kadosh on the timeline.
so we 4 minutes
Kadosh
later.
goes back down into his garden approximately 4 minutes after having left it, and hears the sound of an impact against the wooden fence.
Yes. So what evidence are we looking for here? There's nothing here we can use as evidence. There's nothing in there, so it's got to be more documents or notes. Maybe it was this. Check no footprints. Well, there's nothing to say use that as evidence. So there's got to be documents. Is this gonna... I can't see how this will be evidence, because it's not part of the timeline. We can't put that as part of evidence, so... Anything here that we can use as evidence? No, it doesn't say. I think we've used everything... Anne Chapman rings were worthless. There's more to be found, I think. Anything else? Deductions? These all done? Yep. Okay, I don't know what else to do, Sherlock. Feels like we're missing something. Oh, I've made a blunder. So, these are the 2 testaments we got out of the bin. I tell you what this is then. This is going to be the, this guy, Mr. Richardson's statement. He's the one who went to check on his mum. Yes! There we go. So Richardson arrives at his scene at his mother's. When did he get there? I wonder why the names were different. Sorry, I didn't twig at the time for some reason. Right, let's have a look. What times does he say? Blah, 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 blah. Right, at 4:45 when I got there. So 4:45. And then a 4:45, yes. Hang on, we've done that bit. There was some Damon covered in blood. Ain't no. I could have missed that even if it was nighttime. Right, 5 minutes after getting to number 29, it had to clip off. So that's 4:50. Right, so he got there at 4:45.
Now let's put the Richardson's arrival and departure times on the timeline.
So that's 4:35, 4:40, 4:45 there. And then he
Now,
leaves
let's put the
5 minutes
Richardson's
later,
arrival and departure times on the timeline.
which is there.
Despite the great respect I have for Dr. Phillips and the value I place on our friendship, my deepest conviction is that both of you are mistaken and that Richardson is in the right and that these two testimonies put down in writing have real worth.
But how? Explain yourself, Holmes.
Remember how you assessed the time of death? You touched the fingers and body of the victim, but it was remarkably cold for this time of year. In addition, the corpse had been drained of bodily fluids. Its heat retention was therefore no longer the same as that of an intact corpse.
Okay.
Egad! You're right, Holmes.
Oh, I've had some time to research, Watson.
Given these facts, my first diagnosis may have been off by half an hour, perhaps even an hour.
Thus, we can confirm Richardson's statement and establish that the murder was committed after 4:50 a.m. and not before 4:30 a.m. Excellent,
Gotcha.
Watson. All our people are now in place.
Yes, but Holmes, Miss Long claims to have seen the victim at around 5:30. But according to Kadosh, someone, most certainly the victim and her murderer, was already in the garden at 5:30.
Excellent observation, Watson. It must be noted, however, that these two witnesses, Long and Kadosh, saw the time shown on the clocks in the area, which are often inaccurate and went by their empirical and, in this case, erroneous estimate of how much time had passed. Thus, neither of these two times can be considered reliable.
Do you mean to say
Right.
that these two testimonies might match?
Indeed. Let's put Miss Long's meeting with the victim at 2 minutes before 5:30.
2 minutes.
Let's
before.
add Miss Long's meeting with the victim at 2 minutes before 5:30 a.m. Mr. Kadosh claims to have passed by the Spitalfields Church at 5:32, which, given the distance from 27 Hanbury Street, would mean he was still at home at 5:31. Let's therefore put the end of his testimony at 5:31.
Okay, 5:31.
Miss Long heard the man say to the victim, "Will you?" To which the victim responded, "Yes," which would suggest that an agreement was reached and that the transaction was imminent. They then proceeded to enter the garden, which puts the voices heard by Kadosh at 5:29.
What's this one? Here's 5:29. Did they say? I can't grab it. Hang on. No, it's that one. What's this one? 4 against. No, gotta be.
We had thought that
There we go.
Kadosh had left 27 Hanbury Street at 5:31 after having heard an impact against the fence. Thus, 2 minutes passed between the moment when Kadosh entered the house after having been in the garden the first time and the moment when he returns to go out again and leave for work. How long did he estimate this interval to be? 3 to 4 minutes. In light of all this, Watson, we can finally establish the time of Chapman's murder. Now, place the knife at the exact time.
So we're thinking 5:34. No. 5:33. Well, you mean it from that time. So that could be 5:36. 35. So
There, Watson. Now we can definitively determine the time of Annie Chapman's death.
These will work. Oh, hang on. Caddish hears the fall against the garden fence, so that would be the murder, won't it? When was that? 5:29. And he leaves 2 minutes later, so it's got to be 5:30?
Now then, taking into account that the local clock isn't exact and that a young man was off by a minute or two in his estimations of his comings and goings, we can confirm Miss Long's testimony and place the time of the crime at approximately 5:30.
But in
Brilliant.
that case, Holmes, the man that Miss Long saw is none other than...
That's right, Watson. It was the Whitechapel killer.
To think that Miss Long and Caddosh were only a few feet away from him.
Indeed, Watson. Had Miss Long passed just a little closer to the victim and her assassin, or had the young Caddosh popped his head over the fence out of curiosity, the killer would most certainly already be behind bars.
Or they would be
That's
dead.
some stroke of luck he had there.
I couldn't agree more, Watson. But his luck didn't end there, given the mutilations inflicted upon this poor woman. What must be considered above all is the killer's obvious wish to remove one and only one specific organ. His surgery pinpointed the exact spot, avoiding superfluous incisions. This suggests the man possesses at least a minimal anatomical knowledge.
Yes.
Are you suggesting a doctor or a butcher?
Perhaps, but the possibilities are still too broad to conclude with any certainty. Now for the motive. Despite my almost complete lack of practical experience on the subject, I have a rather precise idea of the usefulness of a uterus and a vagina. Nonetheless, once they are separated from their usual envelope, I am more circumspect as to the uses one can make of them. What do you think, Watson?
Well,
Need a board, Watson.
we need a board. Right, okay, let's go to the board over here then. Alright, what could have been the possible motives for this crime? A specimen for the sole purpose of study? Unlikely. In the medical university environment, students easily have access to a number of specimens. That's probably that one, isn't it?
Perhaps it was intended as a study specimen.
I have little faith in that theory. Hardly anything was taken from the Bucks Row victim.
So that's going to be a no. I think these are in order, aren't they? Indication that would suggest any type of ritual. That's black magic.
Black magic?
Watson, this line of investigation is far too vague. We don't have a single clue in support of such a motive. We can eliminate this hypothesis.
Okay. Dementia can push men to commit terribly vile acts. Cannibalism? Do you call that dementia?
Holmes, what if it was cannibalism?
Even if the idea is unbearable, we can't ignore it as a possibility.
Okay, that's a probable then. For this motive, it would have been easier to quickly remove something from the Buck Rose victim, Polly Nichols.
A desire for some sort of morbid trophy?
I'd be inclined to dismiss this motive. If this were the case, why would nothing have been removed from the Bucks Row victim?
Supply of human organs, trafficking.
Money, quite simply.
Even if this motive seems incongruous, we're in no position to deny or affirm it until we know whether a market for human organs exists.
So I suppose that's a yes.
Elementary. What emerges from these possible motives for having removed the uterus from the second victim is that they implied that the killer could have carried out the same thing on the Bucks Row victim, yet didn't. This brings us to a terrible conclusion. Our killer has evolved in the space of only a few days, and if that's the case, had he already struck before the first murder to which we attribute him? And if the killer strikes again, what atrocity awaits his next victim?
We have to stop him,
Yes,
Holmes.
if he's
We
escalating
shall
his
do our
murders.
best. This recent business of jars filled with formalin and of the American doctor might be a lead. Watson, inquire among medical circles to ascertain if there is a black market for human organs. The chances are slim, but this must be pursued.
Very well. What about you, Holmes?
I will send word to Inspector Aberline regarding our recent conclusions. I should also like to become a gas man and pay a visit to Bluto at the Wasp's Nest.
Understood, Holmes. I think one of my old university colleagues who works at the London hospital will be able to help me. I shall write him a note at once. He should be able to see me during the day. Afterwards, shall we meet here?
Yes, Watson. See you later, and good luck.
I must get to the London hospital, where my old university colleague works.
Right, you control Dr. Watson. So, we have solved, well, we've solved the deduction board and the motive board for Annie Nichols now, and Annie Chapman and Polly Nichols. Mary Ann Nichols, I think her full name was. And we're on the way. Oh, look. I think, is that actually one of the images from the murder scenes? I don't know. Interesting. We'll leave it there for this time. So, we're off to the University Hospital to see if there's a market for human organ trafficking, to see if that is a genuine motive. Is that a new letter there? No, it's not. And Sherlock is going to train up as a gas man to see if he can have a word with Bluto, the thug in the Wasp's Nest back room. Be sure to join us for that investigation as we see if we can close in on Jack the Ripper. Yeah, join us next time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.